Hey family, it's Tasha MAMABEAR Prepping. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. You already know what time it is, baby. Get your drink, pull up. Let's get a sip. I needed one more of those before I got into this video. So today I'm going to talk about shortages. You know, I've been seeing a lot of videos. I've been seeing certain channels that all they are doing is video after video after video of 5 things to get now, shortages, shortages. And I'm not a fan of doing the same video over and over. However, this is a question I get a lot. People want to know insight. They want to know, hey, what do you believe will be the things that will be hard to get, hard to come by? Shortages, the first shortages we'll see. You know, over the years, especially during my military time, it's not that I have blinders on. We always prepared, but I still always had kind of this fog about shortages, right? Because I just was making money, young, doing all the things, just work. Always, it's always a deployment around the corner, right? There's other priorities, children, right? And I was never, especially in the military, concerned about tracking and watching shortages. Sure, stuff would happen, we would notice it, but it'd be onesie twosie things here. Never had I really experienced real shortages. You know, what originally made me start prepping was Katrina. We went through Katrina and I hated the feeling of being stuck in an apartment, literally stuck, and didn't have any food, didn't have any water, didn't have any supplies whatsoever, right? And that's really where it started. And then it started by, okay, I'm gonna get extra rice, I'm gonna get extra water. And that's really where my preparedness journey kind of grew from. And when you talk about different things that could happen and the things that are to come and shortages, I never really paid attention to that, even in my preparedness days, and I was still preparing, getting the things, but I wasn't really tracking. But shortages, as a lot of us have seen in recent years because of the pandemic, people saw shortages. And we've really seen this shift, this dynamic of a shift of the way our food and what is happening to it. And people are starting to pay attention, but some people still are not. You know, simple things like shortages are happening. Yes, there was a pandemic. There was definite stores that didn't have food, but not everybody experienced that, right? We talk about shortages, and even now people are like, well, there's food. You walk into the store, there's food. What's the problem? You're talking about shortage. You're talking about empty shelves. You're talking about these bad days and days that are going to come and there's not going to be any food. And it's just hard to understand and grasp that because every time they go into the grocery store, there's food, right? And they don't see these, you know, they expect, I say shortages, and they expect these huge holes, and there's just like, oh my gosh, where everybody can see and know there's shortages, there's no food, and there's panic, and everybody's talking about it on social media, and that's not happening now. And so therefore people are arguing, you know, whether there's shortages or going to be shortages. There are. During the pandemic alone, shortages on preparedness items, shortages on seeds, shortages on ammo. I mean, there were shortages on aluminum and cans and different glass and bottleware. I mean, you name it. It took a pandemic and whole distribution plants that process and make different items, not just food items, but items in general that then are used to maybe be the vessel for food. And it was a problem. You know, we had shortages in toilet paper. We had shortages, you name it. Since then, since the years, we've had shortages in ketchup. We had shortages in tampons, baby formula, pet food, right? So there's been these things that have happened, and yet there's this fog that there's no shortages, there's no problem, there's nothing to see here, and we're fine, okay? Here is, I have my 10 shortages that I believe, because I get this question a lot. What do you think, Tasha? Okay, I think liquor. Now, some of you might be like, well, dang, you just came out the box with liquor. Aren't you a Christian, whatever? Yes, I am. However, we do partake and drink some liquor. Second of all, liquor is a fuel source for a cook stove. It is a medicinal purposes as far as tinctures and different holistic items, and having that liquor to be able to do that. It's medical reasons, right? So it's a very, very important preparedness item that is needed to stockpile, whether you drink it or not. Some people stockpile it because they don't drink it, but it's a barter item. It is one of those things that during the pandemic, that wasn't enough to push us over the edge of having a shortage for liquor. However, a true chaotic event, a true SHT event, a true black swan, crazy people in the streets, chaos happening, panic happening, liquor is going to fly off the shelves because people are going to want to cope with that. It's not going to be the preppers that are going to go and hoard it and grab it off the shelves. Get the liquor. No, it's all the people that don't know how to work their emotions and are going to be gravitating towards, the world is ending and let me get my liquor. And so for those of us that do use it for other reasons, you need to stockpile. You need to get it now. It is going to be a problem. And although this last kind of big event that happened, we didn't really see that. The most we saw was beer and stuff that was in aluminum cans was an issue. There was shortages in that because they couldn't get the product that they put the beer in. Okay. And so it was a problem, right? But I'm talking about actual, liquor, whiskeys, vodkas, stuff like that are in bottles, okay? Next thing I have is coffee. Coffee internationally is one of those things that a lot of people drink every single day. Coffee and or tea, right? And it is a thing that makes people want to get up and do great things. It keeps them going. It gets them going. It's not that it's necessarily good for us, but coffee is something, when we go to the field, when we used to go to the field in the military, coffee was a lifeline, right? I mean, we drink it. I don't drink a black, on an everyday basis, but baby, if I'm in the field and I'm on a patrol and I need to stay awake and I'm not sleeping well and yada, 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 there's a lot going on that I need to be awake and pay attention to. Coffee is a lifeline, okay? And so it's going to be more, yes, it's to make you feel good and have some normalcy when there's chaos. However, it's also a very good tool to help you stay awake when you are going to be maybe doing other things, needing to be awake, not getting the sleep that you're used to, right? There is no more, I'm going to go to sleep and get 8 hours of sleep. No, baby. Okay. That is going to change. And coffee is going to help you with that dynamic of being able to be aware, be alert, and pay attention to what's going on around you. Third thing I have is medicines. We've seen this already. We've seen bouts of children's medicine, bouts of antibiotics, right? We've seen bouts of, I just saw a video the other day of medicine, and we have supposedly a shortage right now of cancer medicines. Don't know if you saw this. I saw this and I was like, what? Now, I'm just going to say the shortage in cancer medicines. Why would we have a shortage? We'd have a shortage because there's a lot of people getting cancers, a lot of cancers being woken up inside of people. I wonder why it's being woken up inside of people. Is it a certain, what? I'm not going to say it, right? But however, that's a whole other sidebar. That's a whole other thing. And now, this article, this news thing was actually talking about we're turning to China. Of course, we're turning to China because guess who has the most medicine? China. Where do we get our medicines and our ingredients to make medicines? China or India, right? And so this is a problem. And we have, boiling and brewing, foreign conflict with them, right? It's like just a matter of days. Everybody's talking about this, the thing with China and Taiwan, and when's it going to pop off and all of this stuff, right? And they are in control of a lot of our medicines. And here we are fighting all this cancer, running out of medicines, and we're having to turn to them, okay? So medicines, I've always pushed medicines as a big thing, but we're going to see shortages. So we've already seen certain shortages, and so you need to make sure that you have what you need to get for your pets, your livestock, your children, your toddlers, infants, elderly, yourself, every day, over-the-counter, vitamins, everything, okay? Next thing I have, number 4, is fruits and vegetables. Now, you might be like, well, fruits and vegetables, that's a little weird. I mean, you could just grow fruits and vegetables. Yes, you can. You could just grow fruits and vegetables. But guess how many people don't just grow fruits and vegetables, right? A lot of people. And if you are a person who buys fruits and vegetables from the store, you've seen a significant decline in the quality of fruits and vegetables. You are better off, yes, growing your own. It takes a while for fruits, though, especially fruit trees. It takes a while, years and years and years, for that tree to really mature and actually start producing fruit, okay? So if you're investing in that, it's behoove you to get trees that are already 2 or 3 years into their cycle, right? Even older if you can. Are they more expensive? Absolutely. But you get that much closer because a lot of fruit trees aren't going to start producing until the 5 to 7 year mark, okay? But it is important. It is important to do that stuff. I don't care if you own your home, you have a little tiny kind of backyard. It's just a regular urban type backyard. It's not, it's not like acres and acres and acres. But you better be planting fruit trees. Plant it. Plant it where it looks nice in the decor, okay? But get that stuff going. Get your fruits and vegetables. It's going to be 10 times better for you. Less preservatives, less pesticides, bigger quality, better quality. It's just better, okay? Because let me tell you, fruit prices are going through the roof, right? But the quality is going down, and that's horrible when you're paying more and the quality is going down and the quantity is going down, right? And so that's not good. So your favorite stuff, you better be getting it. You better be growing it, better be buying freeze-dried options, be buying your dehydrated options. You can dehydrate, you can preserve food, right? So you can do that yourself, but get on those fruits and vegetables, because we are going to see all this stuff you think with farmers and climate and weather and restrictions and this and that. You don't think that doesn't affect our food. That affects our food. And so we're already seeing these waves of how this is affecting us, but we're going to be seeing more, okay? More problems is going to come. Number 5 I have is wheat. So we've talked about this before in the past. We've already talked about the importance of wheat, certain countries, certain conflicts where producers of wheat, right, and things that are happening. And wheat is in so much stuff. Wheat is in makeup products. Wheat is in pastas. Wheat is in all types of products, food products and everyday products. So it's super, super important to stockpile on that. The things that have wheat, your flours, right? And getting the things to make, like to take the wheat berry and the others and make it into flour, right? Get those things. Get yourself a grain mill. You can get yourself an electric one, but get yourself a hand crank one as well, okay? Super important to get these things stockpiled before you can't get these things anymore and these shortages come and you're not able to get it, okay? And wheat, just something as simple as flour, right? Flour is in so many ingredients. Simple things like being able to make simple biscuits and bread and stuff like that, tortillas to go with stews and one-pot meals is important. It's a very, very, to me, a very, very important aspect of grid down cooking. And so you want to make sure that you are stockpiling the things to be able to make those products, okay? Number 6 is ammo. We've had shortages in the past. The problem or issue that I see with ammo as far as shortages is when we get to a point where conflict, right now is proxy war, and we get into a real conflict, a real war, boots on the ground type war, and wherever that is, it doesn't matter. But if it goes bad, then the government is going to start saying, shut down all the people that are producing ammo, these companies that produce ammo, that sell it to us. And they'll get confiscated. Basically, they'll take over those companies, and those companies will be contracted to just make ammo straight for the government only because of the conflict that's going on. And there won't be any, they won't be allowed to make that for the American public anymore. Civilians won't be the priority. It will be, our efforts and the government. And so that's what I mean by shortages. If something happens and we do get into some sort of major conflict, that will happen and you're not going to be able to get it anymore yourself, okay, as a civilian. Number 7 is pet foods. We've seen this again. I think long term, I think of situations where there's no food, there's famine, there's shortages. People are by the millions are starving. You have a government that tries to come in, make policy changes, change things. That's where they're starting to regulate your gardens, regulate your livestock, your chickens. What animals do you have? Coming in, maybe confiscating food, confiscating animals, gardens, taxing you in some way because it's a collapse. And this is how they can tax you, right? How do you prepare for that? Well, one thing is preparing for your animals, your food, not so much livestock, but your pet food. Do you think the priority for food distribution plants is going to be from a government standpoint is going to be to feed the animals, to feed the pets, to feed your cat, to feed your dog, to feed your lizard? Like, those are not the things that is going to be a priority. It's going to be to feed the people, right? And so if you have animals, you've got to think about them yourselves and stockpile that stuff. Okay. And there's lots of options. What's cool about livestock and pets is there's tons of options of different things. So do your research now on different ways that you can feed them when it's grid down, when you don't have a store that you can get products from. You can't get that food anymore. What can they eat? What are they allowed to eat? What is toxic to them? What is not toxic to them? You need to know that information now, right? A lot of people have cats and dogs. They feed them over-the-counter stuff, right? No big deal. But if something happened, like if you ask them right now today, hey, what foods are toxic to dogs? And they have dogs. And because they know they don't feed them any table scraps, they don't feed them any food, they don't even know what foods are toxic to dogs or what foods are toxic to cats, right? And so it's more about, I'll just feed them food. Well, some stuff can be very, very bad, okay? So moving on. Okay, so number 8, I have preservation items, food preservation items. During the pandemic, again, a lot of stuff was flying off the shelf. You had families that were engaging in doing stuff, but you also had a lot of people that were a little bit scared, didn't know what was going to happen, thought it was the end of the world, and therefore that type of items was flying off the shelf, right? Your preservation stuff, your preparedness stuff, your prepping stuff was flying off the shelves because people were wanting to get into that. All of a sudden, people were wanting to get into pressure canning and preserving food, right? People have that in their mindset that maybe something bigger is going on. We don't know how bad this is going to get. This could be, what we all watch on a movie of just like pandemic, crazy outbreak, people dying. We don't know how bad it's going to get. You have people trying to flee the country. They were so fearful of COVID and what was happening, right? And so preparedness items, food preparedness items, food preservation items were flying off the shelf. Your canners, your dehydrators, your jars. For a while, you couldn't find jars. You couldn't find the caps to go on the jars to vac seal the air out. There was a lot of stuff that had ways where you couldn't get it. Speaking of food preservation items, another thing that we saw was a shortage in freeze-dried food, right? You would go to a company maybe that you buy freeze-dried food from, and they had all types of foods that were out of stock. They were not able to even keep enough food in their stock that was freeze-dried to then sell us food. So you had several companies that were freeze-dried companies that were sending out letters and saying, hey, we don't have this product, or we don't know when we're going to get this product again. And so that was an issue. That preparedness, thing in people, survival, was kicking in, and people were grasping at whatever they could grasp at. And so we saw those shortages. So you will see those shortages again. Number 9 thing kind of goes into this as well. And I believe that you're going to see like camping supplies type shortages. Again, that survival instinct kicks in. People grasp at straws and they just start buying stuff. All the camp stoves, right? Oh, grid down, we're going to need camp stoves. It just takes one event where people go out now and get scared and buy things, okay? So tents, sleeping bags, the camp stoves, lanterns, flashlights, you name it, that stuff was flying off the shelves and you couldn't find it. And what's crazy about all this stuff and what you're going to see and what we have been seeing is with inflation, as shortages happen, the prices are just going to go up even higher, okay? Because they're going to want to keep the facade that everything is fine, there's nothing to see here, everything is okay, you don't need to worry about it, okay? And so you're going to continue, you might not physically see a shortage like a whole, but that's because they've ramped the prices up so that, it stopped a big group of people from having the ability to even buy it, okay? Next thing I have and last thing I have is 10 is international foods. So what do I mean by international foods? I mean rice and beans, okay? I think we're going to have an issue with this because, and I'm not talking about this from an export-import type of thought process, right? Like, oh, we got to get the things like rice, beans, we get them from other countries possibly. We're not going to be able to get them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about rice and beans is an international food, meaning that a lot of cultures, that is a main staple in their food, right? Therefore, if you have all these cultures of people who rice and beans is their go-to, right? And then you have an event, you have a crisis, you have shortages for whatever reasons, crops growing, whatever, weather, a natural disaster comes through, tears up, whatever. That is a big, big deal. But when it impacts a food type, a actual type of food that a lot of different cultures eat, that's going to be a problem and you're going to see shortages. It's one of those foods too that a lot of prepper channels are like, get your rice, get your beans, get your rice, get your beans. So a lot of people that prepare do have rice and beans, but trust and believe we are going to see shortages on this. I spoke about this actually, on a video within the last year since I've been back here in Washington, where I went to Walmart and I realized that the rice and beans section was extremely smaller, right? The beans section was literally a section about the width of my body. Okay, and just imagine I'm a big girl, so give it some room, okay? But if you think about a super Walmart, a super center Walmart, that's a large Walmart that has everything. and the section of beans is the width of my body, you know, on these massive aisles of food, and that's all that there is, that was concerning to me. I was like, whoa. So it wasn't like, oh, I saw a huge hole, there's shortages in beans, there's shortages in rice, right? It wasn't that I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get beans, there's no beans. No, of course, it was full, right? Full shelves, all the beans you want, a lot of little bags, a lot of the little 1 pounder bags, you know, great value. And it was full, but baby, this much space in that whole store for beans. And you're talking about, that's a culture food. Like so many cultures make beans and rice, or and maybe not together, right? So it's just crazy to me that such a big food, and I noticed that. I noticed that. But again, imagine how many people would never even think about that. They'll continue to go in there and get their beans and not think they won't think anything of it, because guess what? They were able to go in the store. It was full of beans. There was a variety of beans. They were able to get them, and that's it. It was fine, right? And so, but I remember it was very, very alarming to me, right? At the time when I saw it, I was like, what is going on right now, right? So anyway, something to think about. These are my 10 things. You know, I get this question a lot. What do you think is going to be the things we need to concentrate on? What do you think are the things that are going to be shortage, where something happens, we're not going to be able to get it? And those are my 10. I've been seeing a lot of these videos, a lot of people talking about them. Like I said, I've seen a lot of channels that's basically the only type of video they're doing is just every day over and over is another list of this type of things. Shortages, there's shortages they're seeing, shortages they believe that we will see, items that they think will go fast that you absolutely need to have in your life. So check out these other channels, get your ideas. But this is my 10 for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys tomorrow on the next video. Take care.